Yesterday regarding two Labor frontbenchers that were or haven't really abided by the code of conduct technically yet. They say they're doing it, but they haven't sold the necessary shares at this point.
Yeah, so the opposition's jumped on this one. Our revelations that Kristy McBain at first moved shares to her husband, then was forced to sell them early this week after discovering she was in breach of the ministerial code of conduct, continues to make waves. We also revealed that Ministers Bill Shorten and Tim Ayres still have shares 8 weeks after the PM's code forbade ministers from having them. He also forbade them from transferring to a family member, which Kristy McBain had done. Well, Opposition Leader Peter Dutton and Shadow Employment Minister Michaelia have called on the PM to consider the three ministers' future.
There are, different standards, frankly, that are applied, by the Labor Party when they're in government to when they're in opposition. They'd be crying blue murder at the moment and calling for the sacking of three ministers. And it's really a test of his leadership.
There are three jobs that Mr Albanese needs to consider very, very carefully. The test for Mr Albanese is very, very clear. If they have breached the ministerial code of conduct, then those three jobs need to be looked at very, very seriously. Mr Albanese going to an election on the platform of integrity and transparency is now facing his first test.
Well, we saw several ministers lose their jobs on code of conduct breaches in the last government, but the government view today was that everything is okay because the ministers are trying to dispose of their shares now.
We've got a rule, everyone's got to comply with it, and I know that the three that you've identified are working hard and fast to divest themselves as soon and as early as possible. They are in process of doing it. Look, there's a hell of a lot going on. I'm not making excuses here, but there's a hell of a lot going on.
Is that good enough? Shouldn't they have done that as a matter of urgency as soon as they were being sworn in as ministers?
Well, look, I'm not aware of the specifics of that. All I'd say is that we take questions of probity and ministerial standards very, very seriously, and that will be a hallmark of the government that we will be.